welcome to my channel, or welcome back, loyal viewers. I'm Kerry, the nosy housefrau, and today I'll be sticking my nose in on the piping hot tea that is Keemstar's interview of Onision. So pull up a chair, maybe your favorite beverage in your Bob Evans mug, not sponsored, and you can even wear your pajamas because it's an impromptu pajama party, and we'll get right into the tea. Now, the first 5 minutes and 30 seconds of this video was a setup. That was Keemstar's choice. I guess he felt he wanted to give enough background information. He didn't actually do it. He played 3 minutes or more of Edwin, another channel which I will link below that I've been watching lately because he's had interesting exchanges with Shiloh, which is part of the whole Onision thing, if you didn't know. And so when this video started out, Keemstar says, well, here's Edwin explaining some of the backstory. He had contacted Edwin this morning, according to Edwin in his live stream, and asked if he could use some of his video. He used over 3 minutes of the footage, but Edwin in his live stream afterwards said he was perfectly okay with that. He said, I think it's fine. I think because I said it right, it's perfectly fine. And a lot of people felt that that was just, you know, using his work. Whatever. I mean, it did look kind of slapped together, you know. The video was 14 minutes long, so it's not like he used it in a 10-minute video. And it does explain a lot of the backstory well. So we're moving right along. Edwin's not offended, so why should I be, right? So he used that footage, and then at the 5 minute and 30 mark on my computer, that's when Onision actually comes in. He's got like a whacked out picture of him up there, and then he starts talking to him. And the first thing he asks him is a good question, which is, did you get paid for this interview? To paraphrase, of course. And after a long pause, there might be a satellite delay, we just hear a very despondent, monotone Onision say, no, I didn't. I didn't even ask for money. And Keemstar points that out too and establishes right up front what a lot of people would ask is, why would he do this interview with you? Many of us know why, but I'll get to that. So he starts asking him, why is he so hated? And why does he try to make people hate him? Why does he go out of his way to make people hate him? Now, some people may think that Keemstar is asking tough questions, but he's not. And here's where they become softballs. In a way, he's asking Onision things that have come up before, things that Onision has already addressed, and then gives him all of the latitude in the world to respond. Now, an experienced journalist, take Chris Hansen, for example, who has a wonderful voice and a wonderful way about himself. I still wouldn't be comfortable going up to someone's door, but I get why he does that. Other than that, I just really like the way Chris Hansen interviews people. And one thing I can promise you he would not do is let these answers slide. And I'll give you one example. Keemstar asks him, why do you go out of your way to make people hate you? Which I think should be broken down in another way. Lead Onision to that conclusion and have him admit it. But just by saying that, Onision does not confirm or deny that that's what he does. But he says, I think people, to paraphrase, don't like me because I can't be normal when I do a video. Now, nobody knows what normal is. So this is a perfect time to say, what is it that you think is not normal? What is, you know, normal to you? Now, maybe to some people that's semantical, but I think it's a good point because it's not why people have a problem with him. Keemstar actually feeds this narrative a little bit. Now, let me just say, there's no way to get an interview with Onision without walking a line of ambiguity. In other words, you have to create a safe place for him. So it's possible Keemstar just played the game, told him these are the questions I'll ask and leave it at that. But really, he played into it. And we all knew this. We all knew that Onision would not take an interview where he would be put on the hot seat. You can ask him some of the tougher questions, but just ones that we've all heard before. We've all heard him respond to before. We know exactly what he's going to say in this interview. So when Keemstar says, why do you do this? Onision paints himself as this disconnected genius, right? A misunderstood genius. He almost makes it sound like he's doing a Kaufman on everybody. Like, I just can't help but be funny. He tells Keemstar, I can't be normal. I find myself exaggerating my personality to entertain people. The question you should ask then is, but why are you doing it when no one's entertained? Who are you entertaining if you are the most hated person? Why would you do it? He never presses him for anything. He just says, people hate you, here's a question, and then just gives the floor to Greg so that he can do what he's always done, which is pontificate, deflect, deny, and twist. And the reason he won't go on an interview with somebody like Chris Hansen has nothing to do with money and has everything to do with avoidance. So the only way Keemstar was going to get this interview was to do what he did, which is allow Greg to just paint whatever picture he wants. Some people were mad that the video was 14 minutes. I feel like it barely got going before it ended, but I'm not going to criticize Keemstar for that. He's in business. If he puts up a video and it's 45 minutes long, people probably won't even sit through it, even though they're interested in this. People's attention span isn't that long. And if he's going to get more views out of it, knowing that people are mirroring his work and not wanting to give him the view, then he has to do what he has to do. I don't have a problem with him there. What I don't like is that he refers to a community of anti-O people. That's what he calls them, an anti-O community, people who are all against Onision. And when you feed into that narrative, when you make it sound like there's this one group, one angry mob, you can paint them all with the same brush and you can discredit them all with the same lines. And that's what Onision does. And that suits him. For him to say, you're very hated, you're an angry mob, it makes it sound like it's unfair. By virtue of saying that, you're giving Onision the means by which to twist it into an unfairness. You're handing that to him on a silver platter. There was a Twitter thing, a short thing of him saying, people are saying I can't make money because there's victims and I'm an opportunist and I'm making money off of this. That's up to other people to feel that way. My thing is, it's an interview. If you're interviewing someone, you can talk about any subject you want. There's nobody who's under the delusion that this isn't a business for Keemstar or anybody else. Nobody's allergic to views. Nobody's allergic to money. So I really don't fault him there. What I don't like is that he said, are there victims? Like, he thinks he's got this healthy skepticism. But that kind of talk is why victims don't come forward. Because it's like, where's the proof? Where's the evidence? We know for a fact. You said it yourself. They're texting this girl when she was 14. You know for a fact she was in their home. So how much more evidence do you need that something was inappropriate? I don't know about you, but I'm not taking a child into my home, and saying, well, it's just a joke. This was another thing that went on. Onision said, she was in our house and we made all of these jokes about, what's the G word? Brooming? Sounds like we're going to have to do charades now. So he's saying we made jokes about this. At no time does Keemstar ask the very obvious question. Well, you're joking about having relations with this person, but eventually it happened. So at what point was it no longer a joke? And he's saying, well, she says it wasn't even when she was 18. She says if anybody was broomed, it was us, which is one of the creepiest things you could say. To actually, do that flip of the script is really typical of people you should be leery of. That he's the victim. What if anybody's a victim here? It's me. That kind of thing. That just didn't sound well. And it seemed to not really get off the ground, this interview, before it just ended. I think everybody was expecting a lot more. I think everybody was expecting to hear him have to answer some of the tough questions. But it was basically like, don't you think this was wrong? No, I don't. He actually gets away, this was the worst part for me, with telling Keemstar, when Keemstar says, you said that you guys weren't in charge of her, but I have video. I don't have it handy, but I do have a video. There is video footage. And by the way, Keemstar does show it in the video of Kai saying that he had guardianship of this person. Onision doesn't, I do. So we know that exists. And when he asks him that tough question, he accepts Onision's answer of, well, it's hard when you're speaking for a person. I'm not going to speak for him, sorry. Wait a second. You speak for him all the time. You've never had any trouble speaking for somebody else. Why wouldn't you speak for your spouse when your spouse is involved? He's like, you'd have to ask Kai. As if there's no way he could possibly know Kai's stance. They're not both in this together. They're not both talking about this. At one point he says, well, I didn't talk about this or that because my spouse threatened to leave me. Details. Press him on these issues. Ask him questions. If you call yourself a journalist, do some journalizing. And ask him the tough questions. And don't let him wiggle out of it and squirm and sidestep. But that is exactly what he's known for. We all knew he was going to do that. He sidestepped a lot of the hard issues and will continue to do so. I knew at the end of this video that it's pretty much all going to be the same. I'll probably tune in and I'll comment on it tomorrow night. If there's going to be a part 3 and a part 4, chances are I'm out. Because I think I pretty much know what we're in for. More of the same. I mean, nobody wants to hear Onision say more of the same, but I guess in the end I have no one to blame but myself for thinking that maybe there would be somebody, you know, pinning him to the ropes on this one, making sure that he can't wiggle off the hot seat and has to answer these questions like, you don't think you did anything wrong? Never says that. Never really, you know, never really seems to look at the gravity of it. And in Keem's tweets, he was quite glib about it, you know, asking, are there victims? It pretty much states you don't know. And he also says he didn't know a lot about it. And that's convenient for Greg as well, isn't it? The less somebody knows about his history, the less they're going to be able to pin him down on the questions because they don't really care. And ultimately, maybe that's the case. Maybe Keemstar wanted the interview and the interview views, but isn't really very invested in the story and doesn't really care if anyone's a victim. I don't know if that's true, but it certainly seems possible. Thank you very much if you've watched this far. I really look forward to your impressions if you've watched it. If you didn't, were you surprised? Was it what you thought it would be kind of like with me? Was it just like a frat boy and a sociopath having a conversation? Frat boy and a sociopath walk into a bar. Anyway, thank you for joining me so much, and I will talk to all of you very soon. Until tomorrow, Hausfrau out.